Religion Rules by Luca and Devan Gardner. Hey, Mr. Stone.
Alright, so for our real life situation, we elected the controversial death of an Iranian teenager, which occurred fairly recently. The boy's name was Hassan Afshar, and he was 19, and he was served the death penalty in Iran as a result of engaging in consensual homosexual intercourse, which, consensual or not, goes against the nationally established laws which they have in Iran.
And we saw that in this situation, the actual illegality of the occurrence came from the religion of Islam, which is the main religion in Iran.
In
Sorry.
Iran.
And we can see this in the Quran. So let's look at some quotes from the Quran. The first one we found was, "For ye practice your lusts on men in preference to women, ye are indeed a people transgressing beyond bounds, and we rain down on them a shower of brimstone." So that's talking about execution or stoning due to homosexuality. Then the second quote we found was that, "Of all the creatures in the world will ye approach males and leave those whom Allah has created for you to be your mates? Nay, ye are people transgressing." So then again, talking about how it is immoral or wrong to be homosexual in the religion and consequently in the country.
And that's outlined further, as Luca was saying, by their laws. So that's what they base their societal rule system off of, rather than other ways of knowing. So they focus on religion and its ideals, as outlined in the Quran. And so there was a quote from Stefan Shaden, who's an LGBT rights activist in Europe, and he's a spokesman for the European Stop the Bomb campaign. He states, in line with the actions of Iran, he said, "Iran's Islamist regime proves again with its actions that it is anything but moderate," and that refers back to the situation of the boy being served the death penalty just for engaging in homosexual activity, which is only outlawed because of the religion of the country.
So this real life situation made us wonder, what role did Islam play in this occurrence? And because of that, we came up with the knowledge question of, what role should religion have in the formation of societal rules and ethics?
So the first claim that we made is, the successful formation of societal rules and ethics depends heavily on constant adaptation and unbiased collaboration. However, religion and its ideas hinder this progression and incite division to the promotion of tribalism, and therefore should be carefully managed when undergoing such a process. And so the first example of this we can see is in language. Language is a big way of knowing in religion specifically. And some of the words that you find, not just in English texts, but in texts across other religions, so in Islam and Judaism, the words like infidel, heretic, heathen, just to name a few, this language serves to show how religion, on a smaller scale, but on a larger scale as well, serves to divide insiders from outsiders, and rather than grouping people, it serves to segregate and create division. And so societal rules need to be formed and addressed from the point of view of a collective rather than separate groups, because this could cause conflict when coming to a decision. So it needs to be decided from the majority, not the minorities. And so since religion as a whole, as demonstrated through its language, it promotes tribalism, which is essentially the act of division and segregation. It promotes tribalism over collectivism, and therefore should be very cautiously taken into account when deciding such rules. And also, aside from its language, religion is very stubborn. It's known to be very stubborn because of this, it anchors people to the past. So religion was essentially designed in order to explain day-to-day phenomena that people just didn't have another explanation for. So they used their imagination to come up with these alternate explanations, and it was used by these religious sects and individuals to justify what they were seeing. But in that way, we've progressed from that point. So by relying on religion today, you're using explanations that are now obsolete because we have better explanations and more reasonable explanations in science. So, for example, in religion, there's concubines, magical incantations, chosen people, stonings, and most notably like sexism. So, for example, in some of the books, in some religions, slavery has God's sanction, and as we a modern day issue in society is the equivalence of men and women in society and in jobs and in being paid. So, in religion, women and children, or in some religions at least, women and children were literally the possessions of men. So yeah, so we can't. So that in that regard, it's anchoring them to the past, so that they need to look forward and to the further progression of society instead of being stuck with religion. So, as I said, society and the human race in general is ever progressing, and so to hold on to religion is to be stuck in the past.
All right, we're back.
We're back, okay. So as I was saying, society in general, and more specifically the human race, is ever progressing and evolving, and we need to embrace this progression and involvement rather than holding on to the past. So to hold on to religion is to hold on to the past, to be stuck in the past. And so because religion does not welcome change, it shouldn't. Well, it's not that it should be completely excluded, but it should be cautiously taken into account when forming rules uh, of society and the general ethics, because we need to embrace change, not hinder it. And so a counterclaim for this claim that we have is that religion and its practices do not always promote division or tribalism, as I was saying, but can occasionally help in the formation of a collective in society, not just, as I said, divisions. So an example of this is the study of Taipuzam in Mauritius, which is a small island nation off the coast of Africa. Taipuzam is essentially, it's a Hindu-based celebration, and it basically requires that it's a very tribal ritual. It requires that participants undergo a set of very painful rituals that includes like the piercing of the skin with the needles and hooks in order to feel pain and basically show faith in their religion. And so a survey, some scientists went to Mauritius to observe this practice, and after they underwent it, a survey was given to a bunch of the participants on the outcomes of it and the amount of pain they felt. And then following the survey, the participants were given a large sum of money by the surveyors, and as soon as they were given that money, they were asked to donate a portion of it, as much as they wanted, or they didn't even have to donate, but a portion of it to the church or the local church. And so they found that the people who experienced the most pain were the ones that donated the most money, and so the ones that that felt the least donated the least amount. And so they saw that with the more and more pain, the more generous people became. And they also said in their surveys that they felt more of a sense of belonging now after they completed the celebration, not in religion, but they said that they felt they belonged more to Mauritius as a whole, to the country. And so rituals that normally serve to segregate actually impelled the participating Hindu population to broaden their sense of belonging, which is a very big deal for someone who is so secluded to religion. So to embrace the collective on a geographical scale and on the scale of society, not just to their religious sect, is a pretty big deal, and it shows how sometimes religion can actually help the formation of the collective rather than divide. But then again, this example is based within a very small island nation, like I said, in Mauritius, in which actually 50% of the nation is Hindu. So saying that you feel more belonging is not really not as big as it seems. And so I don't know, maybe on a larger scale it might be more useful. But it's unreasonable and wrong to rely on pain to incentivize the formation of a collective and teamwork and generosity. It needs to be just ingrained in us, not countered by religion, but like just part of our mindset in general.
So our second claim is that religious ideas can be served to force mentalities that lead to harm. In this case, they should not be used in the formation of societal rules and ethics. So when we're talking about harm, we're talking about negative influences on emotion and sense perception. So sense perception being possibly a causation of pain. So this will be explored in our example, but that's what we mean by harm. So the example that we chose is ISIS today. So ISIS is a group of radical Islamists, as most of you may know, and they're completely based on Islamism and jihadism, which are religious ideologies. So they're known for extreme violence, and they're very present in the media nowadays. It's quite a polemic topic because they've been they've been drawing so much attention to their actions. And basically what they have is they have a different set of ethics. Because as a society, they have their own society, their ethics basically lead them to oppressing genders, oppressing other religions, and they give them a very strong sense of nationalism. And all of these things end up causing harm. And an example of this would be the fact that they place children in danger in order to achieve their ethics, because they have so much conviction in what they believe in. So when I say that they place children in danger, is that they actually place children in the military, and they train them to work with armed forces, and they train them to be in situations that could cause them harm. So it's interesting to see this video right here, which is basically ISIS it's ISIS training children to be murderers or to be soldiers. So this is the video.
A toddler dressed as a jihadi with the ISIS flag behind him is encouraged to behead his teddy bear. The disturbing scene spread through social media, exposing the indoctrination of children inside the ISIS capital of Raqqa, Syria. Boys as young as 5 years old in an ISIS camp training for the group's signature executions.
In this camp, they try to teach them the ideology of ISIS. They send them to bomb themselves. They use them to carry weapons, medical stuff in the clashes. So it's so horrible for the children.
So basically they're raising little jihadis from a small age.
Yeah.
Pretty strong video. So ISIS has been growing, and it has been increasingly making people follow their beliefs. So from the religion of Islam, it went to the small society of ISIS, or the Islamic State, and then it's gradually growing. So religion is the small religion, or not small, but the religion in the beginning is starting to grow and have more and more of an influence on the societal rules of which ISIS is affecting. And this can lead us to believe that religion should not be a part of the formation of societal rules, as it is promoting harm in the ISIS case. However, there is a counterclaim to this, because we can't be so ultimate by saying that religion should never play a part in it, because sometimes the forcefulness of religion can be beneficial to the people and can help the people progress instead of being harmed. And an example of this is some of the ideas in the Ten Commandments. So not all of them, in my opinion. However, let's look at specific ones. More specifically, number 6, 7, and 8. So, if you allow me to read them to you, they are: thou shalt not kill or murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, and thou shalt not steal. So these parts of the Ten Commandments, even though they're forcing people to behave a certain way, and they're establishing societal rules, they're actually promoting life, happiness, and fairness. But there is a counterclaim to this, however. A counterclaim to this counterclaim, if you will. It is unreasonable to assume that without the Ten Commandments, or without the religion, that these rules would not exist. So it's unreasonable to assume that people would start killing if religion hadn't said that you can't kill. So this is the whole idea of correlation is not causation. Just because religion is there and it's saying this, it doesn't mean that it's the only factor, or if it even is a factor that's influencing people to believe this way. So people who do not believe, who do not follow religion, can still logically conclude that it is wrong to kill, steal, or commit adultery, because they look at themselves and they see, do I want this happening to me? And no, they would not want that. And basically these two claims lead us to a big conclusion, or our answer to our knowledge question of what role should religion have in the formation of societal rules and ethics. The answer we came up with was that religion, as with any other set of ideologies, should only have an impact on the formation of societal rules when it actively promotes progression and collective well-being rather than oppression and division. So it really is situational. If religion is promoting something good, as we have established as promoting progression and collective well-being, it should definitely have a massive influence. However, if it is not doing that, if it is oppressing and dividing and causing harm, then it should not have any influence whatsoever. And relating this conclusion to our real life situation, we can see that, so we were talking about the 19-year-old who was executed for being homosexual. And since the religious ideas are actually causing his harm, and they're not causing progression, they're causing oppression, with our conclusion we can say that the religious ideas that are present in our initial real life situation should not be existent. They should not be influencing in the law of of Iran in this case.
And like Luca said, aside from just creating oppression, it also promotes, like we said, it shouldn't promote division or segregation. By adding these rules in, it promotes the segregation of the gay community in that society and all across the world, because it creates a fear in them that they can't be themselves and that they're different from the norm, if you will. So that shouldn't be. That's a reason why religion should be carefully taken into account, and maybe with certain topics rather than others. As we got in some other real life situations, like, for example, the legalization of gay marriage in the United States. So when considering, many states, when considering the idea of gay marriage and the legalization of it, religion was a major factor that people and certain political individuals were using as a basis for their opinion. And so religion, it completely goes against homosexuality, as we've shown throughout this presentation and with our original real life situation. So when coming up with the decision to legalize or not, religion was ignored in most of the decisions across the US, and it because it has, like I said, obsolete views on homosexuality that promote oppression and segregation. So that's an example of where it could be excluded from this process. But like I said, it can also be useful in some situations, such as when it came to the death penalty, because religion, in this case, played a role in the decisions across the US to abolish it, because it helped people really question the morality of it. And if religion, rarely you find a religion that promotes the ideas of killing. Not even, for example, ISIS, they're using jihad as an excuse, but it doesn't. The original text doesn't promote the idea of violence. So in doing so, religion helps question the morality, and has led to the abandonment of the idea in 7 states across the US over the past 9 years. And so that shows how sometimes it can help and should be taken into account when coming up with societal rules and ethics. Thank you.
Thank you.